let's talk about maybe now some of the downsides of entrepreneurship. And the first one, we've kind of already alluded to. It's very difficult. If you think about to the illustration that we showed at the beginning, it's like scaling a cliff where it's not an easy journey. It's not just a smooth path to the top. And if you don't believe us, look at these statistics. 65% of small businesses, so well over half of small businesses, fail inside of the first 10 years. That means they no longer exist inside the first 10 years. And of the ones that make it, of the ones that do survive, only 9% ever reach $1 million in annual revenue. Now, I think it's important to note that's revenue, not profit. So if you are thinking about entrepreneurship as this idea where I'm going to make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, or even hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars, recognize less than 10% of businesses, small businesses, ever even make it over the 7-figure part before you take out all the expenses. It's top line revenue. It's a hard path to go.
Yeah, that's revenue, not income, not profit, as Bo has already said. I mean, so there's this is a lot of people that might be working paycheck to paycheck, even as entrepreneurs, because even if they have $1 million of revenue, if they only have a 10% or some businesses are 5% profit margins, you quickly see that they're making between $50,000 to $100,000. That's not, you're not Elon Musk territory when you have that type of stuff. So don't think that everybody is on fat cat road just because they started a business.
No, but you said though, Brian, but it is hard, so much so that even in your first couple years of entrepreneurship, when you first went on your own, you weren't necessarily saying, oh, this is the greatest decision ever made, right?
Well, I said, because the previous stat we showed where 92% of business owners say it was a great decision. At this moment in time, obviously, I'm like, yeah, I made the right decision. But here's the reality of the situation. If you'd have looked at my business in years 1 through even year 5 or 6, I would have been better served being an employee. I'd have been saving and investing the entire period. I wouldn't have had the first 2 years where I couldn't, because I think people, I'm going to tell y'all something, and this is a little confessional. It took me 3 years to get $10 million of assets under management, where I was getting clients. And now we do that in a matter of weeks. And I think about that. It was kind of sad how slow it was for me to catch traction. So that I left this job that I was making really good money. In the first year, I think I made my tax return I made $17,000. So I mean, I
from
basically
almost 6 figures down to 17.
So I essentially was making a fifth of what I was doing. So if you looked at those first few years, it would have been like, and I remember people whispering, because now everybody they were on the bandwagon. I supported Brian when he started his business, but I heard rumors from, because there's been divorces and friends, and then you hear from the ex-spouse and they say, yeah, his parents are like, what was Brian thinking? There's no way that he was going to make it, thinking he was going to do this. So there's a lot of people who doubt you until you have this level of success, and then they all support you and they all on the bandwagon,
because hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants to support the winners, but it's not. I made the analogy. It is the duck, on water, and the fact that you don't see. They might try to make it look easy. They might try to make it look like they're not stressed out and not sleeping at night, but those legs are kicking as fast as they can underwater just to keep things alive. So it's tough. Yeah, that's a con, and I'm very aware of it. I'm not so sure if I didn't have the clarity of trauma of losing my father that I would have naturally been an entrepreneur.
Another downside of entrepreneurship that often people don't talk about is that if you leave the workforce, it may be difficult to re-enter if it doesn't work out. If you go pursue this entrepreneurial endeavor, and the industry that you're in and the technology changes, the processes changes, or whatever happens, and you spend time on this entrepreneurial endeavor, it may be hard for you to go back into the workforce. And certainly it may be hard for you to enter back in at the place that you left. So you may have to start over twice if this thing does not work. So you want to make sure that before you make this leap, you recognize the real risks that exist. If you're climbing up that cliff and you fall back down to the bottom of the mountain, you might have to start over at zero. And that's a realistic concern that could be taking place.
And then I'll kind of close out this part of it with it's not all success and champagne. My biggest shock, we have this saying around here, don't get busy doing nothing.
Sure.
First year I started my company, guys, if you'd have seen my financial statements, they were pristine because I was spending all my time doing that because you know what I didn't want to do? I didn't want to go make relationships. I didn't want to go sell because I was a natural analytical thinker. Yes, I liked people, but I'm not the type of person that walks into a room full of people and I want to go shake everybody's hand. I want to go hang out with the 3 or 4 people that I'm really close to and we have a bunch of laughs. But when you're an entrepreneur, there's a lot of sales. I think a lot of people don't realize how uncomfortable you have to be to go and do the stuff nobody else wants to do. And that's the cold hard reality. And that's why I think fear drives you to do a lot of things that the average person just is not going to do because cold calling people, I don't know if that works anymore, but I joined all the clubs. I was anything and everything to try to get me adjacent to people that I thought could become prospects or clients. I had to do it because I was trying to pay the bills, and it was just a hard journey.
How about this? When you're an entrepreneur, you are now the boss. So if you work in an industry where you have to have employees, you are now in charge of hiring and firing people.
Yeah.
You're in charge of committing to another human being. Hey, I'm going to create an opportunity where you're going to work, and the well-being of your family is going to depend on me making sure that this business continues to operate, that this business continues to run. Or if things don't work out, you owe it to your business. Now you have to fire someone. These are very, very difficult things to do that entrepreneurs have to recognize. It's not all the good stuff. It's not all the fun stuff. It's not all the happy stuff. It is hard decisions you have to make as an entrepreneur.
I get a chuckle. I think if people knew the amount of background compliance you have to do, and I'm not just talking about taxes. Let me tell you, I wish I could do like we didn't start the fire, or it's the end of the world as we know it by REM, and the fact that, because it's like taxes upon taxes, and I'm not just talking about income taxes, I'm talking about you've got payroll taxes, you've got, I'm just did a workers' comp audit for my workers' comp insurance, because I got to make sure we file those. You got to file your payroll tax returns, you have to file, I have a sales and use tax return, I have a franchise and excise tax return that we have to do with the local community, I have a property tax where I have to go list out all the, not inventory, but just assets, fixed assets, furniture, fixtures, equipment, and I have to send that to the government by March 1st of every year. As Secretary of State, I have to, every entity, I have to go register with them annually to keep my businesses all compliant. I'm leaving stuff off here, but it's just, and then you think about bookkeeping. If you're not, and nobody's going to love your business like you, so even if you're hiring somebody to do these things, you have to know enough so that you can keep yourself above water. Insurance and risk mitigation. I already mentioned the workers' comp audit, but I think about my liability insurance renewals. I even have them working with my insurance agent right now to make sure we've listed all the things that could be risk, because you have employer risk, you have employees stealing risk, you have all these things, even errors in admission. We have insurance upon insurance. I didn't even know all this insurance existed. I think if everybody knew the chaos of compliance and risk mitigation in business, you'd be like, what the heck? It is a lot. You don't eat the elephant all at once. You eat that elephant one bite at a time when you're running a business in a lot of ways.